Call to everyone alive, in my nest, here's nowhere, and we have news from Rusty Lake. The Christmas puzzle. Yes, this late. New screenshots from the upcoming game. The start of a new season of Devlogs. And April Fool's bugs. So, the developers have broken their long radio silence and released the first devlog. More will follow later. On that occasion, I'll start with the news that piled up in the meantime. I've already covered the first story in my channel posts, but I do know how many of you read them. So, I'll repeat it. For Christmas, Rusty Lake released a festive puzzle in the style of the Vandermeer portraits from the demo. Naturally, with the legendary artist Johann Herft involved. It was the usual. Some encrypted message, a Google form for answers, some prizes. Not exactly thrilling. But here's the interesting part. The developers casually revealed that Alexandra is not a wife, not a cousin, but actually a sister to the Alchemist brothers. Well, that's it, I thought. The theory that the Vanderbros are Elizabeth A. Lander's children, the details are in the linked video where I made a bunch of predictions about the upcoming game, is going down the drain. Simply because Alexandra looks older than them, and Betsy's motherhood doesn't fit the timeline. The second news worth noting is another teaser, this time in the form of a screenshot. It's not the first time the developers share something like this, but it's also not the first time something like this sparks intrigue. Cats are nice. The attic of a family house is also nice. But what grabs attention here is a strange silhouette. And of course, in said silhouette, we recognize the corrupted soul from the trailer. It only appears for a moment, yet raises a ton of questions. And here's one answer. It's definitely not a statue. Although doubts about it being a corrupted soul still remain. Corrupted souls rarely wear clothes, while anything could be hiding in the shadow of the hood. And even white eyes aren't always a sign. Still, I'm leaning toward it being a corrupted soul. Also, if it's somehow connected to the dungeon from the trailer, it will most likely be the Vanderus laboratory under the house after all, despite the presumed redesign since the times of Roots release. Speaking of Roots, that's exactly where the first devlog for Servant of the Lake begins. Not particularly surprising, we always return to them when the next game comes up. Makes sense, it's a prequel after all. The first revelation from the devlog. The creators have long wanted to return to the Vandermeer house with a new game. Only now it turns out the Vanderbros had a sister all along. The younger one that is. Sorry dear, I renounced you too soon. How long all along really is on the meta level is an open and very interesting question. Alexandra could have existed in the developer's mind from the very beginning, at least as an unnamed parent of James, if she really is his mother. Or only since 2023, when they decided to go back to Roots after having resolved the thread of Rose in Underground Blossom. Generally, the question of how important Servant of the Lake is for the overall story is very relevant. Hardly anyone wouldn't be happy to see the Vanderbooms again, but we've been waiting for 10 years for Dale's arc to reach its conclusion. And the story just never gets there. It's not outright stated in the devlog, but it might give an impression that Servant of the Lake is another spontaneous project. I really hope that it will thematically bring us back to Dale, or at the very least to Albert. But I would be lying if I'd say I'm not concerned. Not all longtime fans have been happy with the games over the past 4 years. Although, it's quite possible they will let it slide personally for the Servant. Partly for nostalgia, partly because the developers themselves believe the new game could be their best project yet. Beyond the familiar and dearly loved format we saw in the demo, they promise some experimental gameplay elements. They're also very careful about quality. And here, we have a bit of bad news. With the studio growing, being announced at the Future Game Show, and climbing the Steam Next Fest demo charts, they have finally, after years of hesitation, fully transitioned to Unity. First, because they want to expand onto consoles. And second, because the support of Adobe Animate, which has served them faithfully since before the studio even existed, is being halted and it will no longer receive updates. The era is fully gone. At this point, all levels, all puzzles are already done. Everything has been ported to Unity. What remains is cosmetics, music, voiceovers, achievements, and things like that. But the developers aren't sure they'll make it by the end of spring. Let them take their time. I'm all for delays in the name of quality and against crunch. But damn it, after so many years of delays, they could have learned to push deadlines in advance. That's how planning fallacies got to become. By the way, a bee. Not sure if it's related to the blossom, but that would be cool. Meanwhile, we are soon expecting the demo on mobile devices. About time. And the last bit of news for today. The devs treated us to another April Fool's joke. A showcase of bugs in the upcoming Servant of the Lake. In the middle of the Rusty Lake wasteland, the bugs crawl into the abandoned Vanderbilt house. Literally bugs, larvae, and other pests. Nothing really special here. Only a bunch of assets snagged from the older games. Now a classical mammoth leaves! A few stock PNGs, and that's about it. At the very least, it's quite fun to watch. And here was Now Here, sharing news from Rusty Lake. If you want to discuss the lore with me, especially theories about the upcoming game, I'll see you in the comments, on the Rusty Lake subreddit, and the official Rusty Lake Discord. And remember, question everything in said Rusty Lake.